Well, Maryam, thank you so much for helping with my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'm an aspiring voice actor. As you can see, I've got a little home recording studio set up here. I also love to sing. I am I'm in high school currently. um, this is my first interview ever.
Oh,
Really
that's
excited.
awesome. It
Yeah.
won't be your last.
Oh, yeah, because that's part of why I wanted to do it, because I felt like it would prepare me for my future, since you're gonna have to be interviewed if you want a job. So
That's really neat about wanting to be a voice actor. Are you thinking about like voices for like animations or something else?
yeah, cartoons. My Little Pony is my inspiration.
Um, w- I hate to put you on the spot, but you're the first voice actor I've ever talked to.
That's
Could
that's pretty
you maybe give a demo?
Yeah, sure. I do impressions of Twilight Sparkle.
Um, I do impressions of Applejack. I do impressions of
Fluttershy.
I just a lot of impressions, but um, in terms of acting, I kind of have to have a script. But voice is only half of it.
Um, okay, so maybe not quite a script, but imagine you're in the driver's seat at Chick-fil-A ordering for your family, and nobody can decide what they want.
Huh. Okay. Would you guys just pick something? I'm gonna be late for class. You like the chicken sandwich last time, right? Let's just get you the chicken sandwich. Dad, Diet Coke? Okay, cool. Hi, can I get a chicken sandwich and a Diet Coke?
That's pretty
Like that's how
cool.
it goes. Thank you.
Definitely, I've had those moments without the acting part.
Yeah, yeah.
So have you always wanted to be a voice actor, or did you have some other careers you were thinking about?
When I was very small, probably all throughout elementary school, I thought I wanted to be a singer. But once I started watching My Little Pony, I got inspired by the cast. And, ever since I was 10 or 12 years old, I wanted to be a voice actor.
That's awesome. And how do you see yourself breaking into that industry?
For now, I'm just practicing online for free and for practice. But I've been taking classes with Michelle Krieber and Monique Krieber, who actually work on the show. And so I'm thinking that there's an option to sign up for some private coaching as well. And they can help you make a demo reel and create a resume.
That
So that's kind of how I could get my start.
that sounds pretty neat. And it's not quite voice acting, but a way to demonstrate your voice talent, like audiobooks and doing recordings for like trainings and things like that.
True.
Yeah. Um, so I guess did you know that NASA is planning to send people to the moon in 2024?
I did not prior to looking into the Dear Moon project.
And how did you find out about the Dara Moon project?
Um, well, I follow Black Griffin, aka Gabriel Brown, on Twitter, and his biggest dream is to go to space. So I watched his submission, and that was pretty much all I knew about it. I just knew that this was something he wanted to do, and I wanted to support him with that. And then after you tweeted a reply to my retweet of his tweet, I got kind of curious. So I did a little bit of research, quote unquote, a little YouTube search.
Um, if you had to choose 8 people to send about around the moon, how would you choose them?
That's a really good question. Well, I know that you're specifically interested in artists. So I guess have a good diversity of different types of art to communicate the message of art is pretty much anything that any type of creative process you can create. So yeah, a variety of artists. I'm not really sure. I mean, which types of artists. I think that singers are are artists, songwriters are artists, obviously painters. Um, yeah, I don't know. Just have a nice diversity, a nice variety of different types of art, I think.
I guess so. My Little Pony is something that you've been exposed to for a while, I imagine.
Yeah.
Um, I guess if you were, and so that has an impact, right? I mean, you could imagine having, an episode about, the ponies going, "What's that up there?" And
Right. Yeah.
I think there's people up there. But
Yeah.
if you wanted to reach out to the largest segment of the population, what art form do you think would have the most, uh, would be able to reach the most people?
I think music, because it's it's so there with every song. You can have, your intended message to communicate as the songwriter, but it's also kind of open to interpretation, and music is kind of the universal language, people say, that brings people together. And um it can empower you, it can get you through difficult times, and it promotes positivity. So probably a singer.
And that makes sense. And also, you have people that are visually impaired. You have people that listen to music whenever they're like driving to work and back.
It's true.
And then also you get that tune caught in your head, and you're like, oh my gosh,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And you're like, what is that tune? Something about the moon and going.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of different space activities going on, and it's difficult to keep them all sort of separated. So you have the Dear Moon project that's being funded by the Japanese billionaire to send 8 artists around the moon, hopefully in 2023. You also have the NASA program Artemis, which is the plan to actually land people on the moon in 2024.
Hmm.
So one of those is being paid for by private money, and one of those is being paid for by, public funds and tax money.
Okay.
Um, do you do you see any advantage to doing it one way or the other, or does that? I mean, what do you think?
I don't know. I wouldn't know anything about that. I guess the I guess private funding would be, I think the taxpayers would appreciate that more, maybe. I don't know. It depends on if they want their money to go towards that. And I don't know their position on that. So
Yeah, I've been trying to find out, through going up to people at Starbucks, where they're trying to decide between the latte and the mocha. And hey, did you know we're going to the moon in 2024? So it
yeah.
just catches them off guard. No, I'm just trying to decide between the mocha and the latte. Okay,
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah, most of the people I talk to are kind of supportive of it, but there are a lot of people that say, we have all these problems down here on Earth, like, you know, global climate change and poverty and social justice and inequality, and the list goes on and on. They're like, why are we sending people to the moon and spending all the money there when we have these
There's
other
so
things
much
going
work
on?
that still needs to be done here.
Yeah, and how do you kind of approach that viewpoint? I mean, is that something that you agree with, or do you think, well, it's not quite looking at the problem the same way as I look at it? Um,
I think I might have to agree with the general opinion, that there is a lot of work that still needs to be done here. But I mean, it's it's uh it's pretty cool that we're capable of doing something like this, and there's a lot to learn from it. And if we can do this, then I think that we can do anything here. So, you know,
what do you see as the biggest problem on Earth that you're like, man, this really needs to get solved, and why isn't it?
biggest problem on earth. There's a lot. Um, I want to say, inequality. So I think that that causes every other problem. That's the root of all the problems,
Now, inequality is
like
in
racial.
racial inequality. Yeah. You're talking about like the chances of, say, a white person getting stopped by the cops and walking away from that being different than, say, a black person getting stopped by the cops and not walking away from that, which unfortunately we've had way too many examples of just in the past 12 months. What do you think is the cause of that? I just kind of
Hmm. I think that racism in the past has been kind of institutionalized. We are making progress towards you know, um, reducing it, but I think that it really just starts with not so much the public, but the government.
I guess the challenge is in a democracy, usually the government is reflective of sort of the the a segment of the population that's active and participating and connected, and frankly I guess the part of the population that has money that they're spending on getting people elected and running for office and that type of thing. Mm. I mean, it seems to me that having a more diverse police force would definitely be a big step.
Yeah, I agree.
And at least then um, people are like at least the people that are pulling you over, you feel like you relate to somehow, as opposed to constantly having this
True.
difference. But yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Um, and the interesting thing is that doesn't seem like one that requires money per se, just something even harder than money, like the ability to change people's perceptions,
Yeah.
which voice acting and My Little Pony could actually do a lot with that.
Yeah, it's created a big phenomenon of unexpected adult fans, and it's done a lot of good. You know, cartoons are happy and they spread positive messages, and My Little Pony especially is all about um being okay with being different and being who you are, and they're all really accepting of each other's differences. So Equestria is kind of that ideal um, place that we'd like the world to be more like.
Um, let's say you got to create a brand new society on Mars from the scratch. You don't have any pre-existing people there, infrastructure, or anything. And you wanted to make it a place where race wasn't an issue, where equality was there, and it was like Equestria on Mars. Uh, what are your thoughts on how you would go about designing and building that?
Wow. Um, I think that it'd be really cool if um, currency was weighed not with material goods, but with kind acts. And you could, there would be an incentive to help other people instead of to help yourself become the richest or the most powerful. So I think that that's probably the first thing that would change is the the value that you have wouldn't be based off of how much you own. It'd be how much good you do. That's kind of an idea I had when I was like 10 years old.
Yeah, I guess I definitely appreciate it. It sounds worthwhile. I just wonder about the mechanics of it. Like on a day-to-day level, how does it get implemented? Like, what does it look like?
Right. Yeah. I have no idea.
Maybe it's uh, I mean, yeah, it's difficult. I mean, the idea of currency actually is a very strange idea too. It's just we lived with it for so long. I mean, uh, can you imagine in the olden days, you had like this cow and this other person had shoes, and you like trade the cow for shoes, and it made sense because I needed the shoes and I had two cows.
Right.
And then somebody comes along and says, I tell you what, how about instead of trading the cow for shoes, you trade the cow for this piece of paper? You're like,
Yeah.
I don't need a piece of paper.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, it would be good. Trust me, it'll work. That was a crazy idea too at one point.
Yeah.
Um, Somehow that worked out. Um, so if you could, would you also go to space?
Um, hmm. I suppose uh yeah, if I could, I would. I would take advantage of that opportunity. Sounds pretty once in a lifetime opportunity. Uh yeah, I mean I've never really been into space that much, but uh maybe actually going would convince me to.
And any ideas on how far you would be willing to kind of explore? Are you thinking like a 15-minute suborbital flight where you're like shot up in a rocket above the atmosphere and you coast for a little bit and you come down and you land? Or you thinking like maybe a week in orbit and visiting the International Space Station, or maybe a week or two around the moon and back, or immigrating to Mars where they're building Equestria?
um I would say if you're gonna do it and go all the way. So as long as possible, as much experience as possible, the biggest option.
Now, not everybody I've asked that to has been positive about going into space. A lot of people are like, no, not for me. And you know what the number one um, most frequently given reason for not wanting to go to space that I've heard?
Hmm,
Claustrophobia.
really?
Yeah, which is kind of funny because you're like in the middle of nowhere. It's like being in a little bitty rowboat in the middle of the Pacific. You have like the combination of the extremes of both vast openness and then really compressed humanity.
Yeah. Well, I can't say I'm claustrophobic. I don't think I am. So I'm not really thinking about that. I like tight spaces. They're cozy.
Um, I kind of envision this as being a time capsule for an audience that hasn't even been born. In fact, maybe their parents haven't even been born yet. People 100 years from now. Uh, and if you could relay something to people 100 years from now, what would you want them to know?
Hmm. Mm, I don't know. I'm stumped.
Well, okay. How about this? 100 years ago would have been 1921.
Okay.
What do you remember about 19? What can you think of anything from 1921, like how that would be different than it is now?
1921 was around the Cold War period, right? Yeah.
Cold War was immediately following World War II, so around like 1945 to like the 1980s.
Oh, okay. World War One? I don't know.
Yeah, I think World War One finished up in like 1918, and in like the 1920s, Prohibition was a thing.
Oh, Roaring Twenties, right.
The Roaring Twenties, you got that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm, what would I want them to know?
Or what do you know about them? I just kind of curious in what they were able to transmit 100 years in the future about their lives.
Hmm, that is interesting. There was a lot of technological innovation going on, excessive spending. Uh, that's it. That's all I got.
Um, do you think humans will always be on the Earth just making like these little side trips to places, or do you think humanity will at some point expand beyond the Earth and inhabit the entire solar system and figure out some way to create like a generation ship where people might live for hundreds of years voyaging between the stars, and eventually humanity spreads throughout the universe? What, how do you think about the future?
I think side trips.
So you, would you say that humanity ends when the Earth ends?
I guess so. Kind of depressing, but yeah.
I, I was about to ask you how that makes you feel, but I guess the depressed. Uh, do you think that's the only choice? Uh,
uh, that we know of, I suppose. Yeah,
uh, yeah.
it seems like Earth's kind of got, everything we need. Oxygen, water, an atmosphere to protect us. Um, I don't think any other planet is habitable. So yeah.
Well, at least not in the solar system, but um, and we've discovered thousands and thousands of other planets around other stars. Of course, by the time you got there, it wouldn't be you getting there. It would be like your great 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 grandchildren getting there. So does it really make sense to you talk about taking that that event of being in the checkout line at a fast food place. Uh, can you imagine these children being born going, I didn't sign up to be in the ship for my entire life.
Oh my goodness.
Turn this around. I want to go back. Uh, yeah. Well, your friend that's applying for Dear Moon,
Yeah.
um, what kind of art is he into, and um, what are some things that you're doing to sort of promote his application?
Well, the only thing I've done to promote his application is just retweet his tweet. And whenever he posts a YouTube video or a tweet, I just kind of retweet it or share it in some way. But he's a singer, a voice actor. Um, I think he's been in the military. Um, and he's done a whole bunch of stuff. I forget what else he's done, but he's done a lot of stuff. And I think in terms of art though, I think singing and voice acting. He's a great singer. And
That's good. And like what were you,
voice actor. But he sings a little more. He also does really good amazing impressions of a whole bunch of cartoon characters. And he's voice acted, I think, on My Little Pony too. So
oh really? So that's pretty neat. Um, well, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything that you we didn't get to talk about that you wanted to?
mm, I guess I would want to ask. I think that Gabriel Brown is a finalist. What happens after you're a finalist? Like, how do you make it all the way?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I really want to help him achieve his biggest dream.
Yeah, I don't know anybody associated with the Zero Moon Project, but if I had to imagine being in their shoes, I'd want somebody that you could give this experience to who would be able to sort of bottle it up in a way that would be kind of infectious and viral, and probably not the right words to be using during a pandemic, but um, would make people feel like they were there too. I mean, how do you send 8 people but feel like you're sending 8 billion people?
That's
That's
true.
the
Yeah.
question. So I would almost think that what would be very convincing would be to have some unique experiences that you're able to create art around that gave people that perception of going through that experience, like maybe skydiving or snorkeling or
I think Black Griffin does both of those things.
yeah. So I mean, so I think a portfolio of those things would be very um very good.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on my uninformed opinions.
I agree. That's cool.
Just out of curiosity, where are you located?
California, Southern California.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it's the weather's nice there.
Yeah.
Getting hot, I think.
Winter is finally over. It's spring.
Well, good deal. Well, thank you very much from Houston, Texas. So we're also in the hot place.
uh, all right. Well, thank you for having me. I had a really good time. You got me thinking about a lot of stuff I've never thought about before. And you have a good day.
Yep, and I look forward to I look forward to hearing your career develop.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.